Hello, traders. Welcome to Liquidity Narrative for the week commencing the 28th of June to that of 3rd of July. We are moving so fast into the month of July. So, welcome once again to Liquidity Narrative for the week. Remember, the objective is not for price predictions. We are not predicting price. But here we prefer to choose structure over speculations. What we are doing is try to identify where liquidity sits in your chart using the higher time frame and narrating it down to the lower time frame, what to look out for, where liquidity sits and what price is likely to deliver, where price is likely to deliver, and then watch price as the market get to those areas and see what to do at those levels. So that having been said, okay, before we dive into our analysis or narrative for the week, remember the month is ending on Tuesday, which is the 30th, and the new month is starting on Wednesday. So I will kind of advise for a little wait, maybe, or be conscious, not a little wait, be conscious of your trading between Monday and Tuesday as the market wraps up its monthly delivering between Monday and Tuesday, and the new week starts Wednesday, which is the first. Also, watch out, trade safely. That's just what I wanted to say. But then, that having been said, let's dive in and do our narrative for the week as we start with Nasdaq. Okay, as at last week, Nasdaq was completely bearish, a little pull up and a little down there about. But as you can see, this is the weekly candle was bearish. So what are we looking at for Nasdaq? What our expectation? What is our narrative this coming week, which is starting today, the Sunday evening, to the Friday? So what are we looking at in Nasdaq? So as you can see, we've had this. Nasdaq dropped to this according to the weekly chart. Then this is it on the daily time frame. This is where we are. The market has not really got into a particular place for me to start looking for a buy. So I'm expecting here from the liquidity narrative, we're expecting the market to drop at least. We can say our draw on liquidity remains bearish. We want to see market being drawn to this level. It might even get to this level. This level is a low on the daily time frame, while this is a gap on the weekly time frame. This is it. So this is what the market is seeking. Like we always tell you, market is looking at for liquidity. So this is it on the daily time frame. We want to see the market drop or being drawn to these levels. Until we get to this level, we remain our narrative remain bearish. So unless the market changes anyways, so what happens as of Friday, the market dropped this Thursday, Friday, Wednesday was kind of bullish, and the market went back to the bullish candle, which is acting as a resistance point. As at Friday, the market respected that level, the other block on Friday, and then if we drop to the lower time frame, maybe if we drop to like the one hedge, what are we looking at? Where is our drawn liquidity? We've said our drawn liquidity remains to the downside of the market, where we said liquidity pools lies on the upside of the market. We want to see price. Apparently, markets get back. The market might resume and continue to go down, but we want to see price at least coming up to give us a trade by taking out liquidity on this level or respecting this. This should be a gap on the daily time frame. Let's go. Okay, market might apparently get back to this level to take out this, which is a liquidity pool on the lower time frame, or also draw into this gap on the daily time frame. That is where we'll be looking out for the sell continuation if it did not continue immediately as the market resume. This is where I'm looking at. This is what I want to see the market happened. Market running up to take out this liquidity, respecting this gap for me to be part of the sell to withdraw to get to our draw on liquidity, which is a higher time frame level. The low on the daily time frame, it might get to this, which is a weekly um, gap on the weekly time frame. So these are the areas we are watching at on Nasdaq, which is US Tech, our liquidity pool remains the upside of the market, where our draw on liquidity remains the downside of the market. Then that having been said, if we look at the weekly time frame, we can also see this level. We want to see price this level as acting as a resistance the next time the market gets to that point. But like I said, we watch this level for liquidity pools to be run and then take the trade, follow the trade down to the downside till we get to our draw on liquidity. So we are watching out on Nasdaq to be bearish this week. But like I said, as the market resumed on the Sunday, take a look and just trade safely, allow the month to end to give you a clearer view of what the next month will be seeking out for. But using what we have at this moment, these are the areas we are watching out on Nasdaq, which is US Tech. So moving next to our next pair, we're looking at British pound USD, starting also from the monthly. What has the market done? We can see that the monthly apparently has not closed, but so far so good. We've had this low being taken out. If we drop on the weekly time frame, we can also the liquidity, the old low has been taken out. Liquidity has been run on this old low. What are we expecting? We want to see a little rebalancing of the market after taking out this low. Where can the market apparently get back to what can be drawing the market to the upside? We want to see market maybe running back on the weekly time frame, which is the fair value gap the market has created. Um, in each chart. So we want to see our drawn liquidity to this level, which is a gap on the weekly time frame. If market paraventure rebalance more, it could get to the other block on the weekly time frame. So these are the areas we are watching out for our draw on liquidity. But here is the major area for draw on liquidity on the weekly time frame. Why it might get to the other block, but not a promise. Remember, this is like a rebalancing leg. So if we move to the daily time frame, what did we have? We can see what the week last week had. If we watch out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this is what we had. The market ran into this liquidity, which is also a key level on the daily and weekly. Both of them are the lows. So the market gave a clue to be going up. It might actually get to this level, which is our draw on liquidity, or get to this level, which is also a drawn liquidity, which is a weekly order block and weekly fair value gap. So our drawn liquidity for British pound USD this week, we are bullish in draw on liquidity till we get to this level. Like I also said, the week is coming to an end. Give the week a break. The month is coming to an end. Give the month a break to end for you to give you a clue of where the market is as the month ends for this month of June. So trade safely in this week as the month ends and also as a new month commences between the Wednesday. So this is where our drop liquidity is. The first one, the second one. So if we drop to the lower time frame, maybe using the 1H or 15-minute time frame or 5-minute time frame, whichever one you were using, these are the areas I'm watching out for our liquidity pool. We want to see market at least coming back to take out this liquidity pool before running to our draw on liquidity if it didn't continue. This is the real what I want to see the market doing, coming back as the market regime to at least respecting running out this liquidity pool or getting at least to this level before we continue. But we still have liquidity at this level. It might get, but my expectation of the area of focus of trade in trade or seeing what happens will be between the first and the second level of this draw on liquidity before we see the market going up, no, the first and the second liquidity pool before we see the market going up to the draw on liquidity if it did not continue to go down. Apparently want to see this rebalancing to the upside. That's why we said our draw on liquidity for this week remain bullish until we get at least to this level to see exactly what the market have next for us. Remember, the month is ending and the new month is opening. Things apparently happen within the closing of the month and the opening of the month. So trade safely and watch out the market before you take any trade. But these are the level we are looking at and watching out in British pound USD this week. So moving next, we are looking at Euro USD and Euro USD. So if we start from the monthly, because the month is ending so fast, we can see what the market has done. Market drops, took out this low on the monthly. What will the market be seeking next? Then let's go taking it bit by bit. We drop on the weekly time frame. You can see that the monthly apparently closed below that low. But if we drop on the weekly time frame, let's see clearer picture. The market drop also close below the old low and dropping into this, respecting apparently this other block. So what is it that we have on Euro USD? The next drop or the next thing that Euro USD is seeking will be this other block on the weekly time frame. Before that, we apparently want to see a rebalancing at least to the upside, which is this level. So our draw on liquidity on Euro USD for rebalancing remain this gap to act as a resistance zone. If it continues a little bit, it might be respecting this other block, which is also on the weekly time frame. So dropping on maybe the daily time frame, what are the things we can see what the market has created as the market did a run out on these old lows, respecting that on the daily time frame. So we want to see market rebalancing itself by going up to this level. That's why we said our draw on liquidity remains on this level. The gap on the fair value gap on the weekly time frame, it might get to this other block before we want to see a continuation to the downside of the market. So we watch those level. That having been said, okay, let's move to the lower time frame to watch out where liquidity lies. Our liquidity pool, like we was always say, we want to identify where the liquidity sits. We want to see where price is likely to deliver. We've said we want to see price delivering to the upside, which is our draw on liquidity. And then we want to see where liquidity sits, which is at these areas on the lower time frame. So apparently price might get to this level to run out liquidity before continue to go to our draw on liquidity, which is a higher time frame focus. We are looking at this level. So we watch this level on Euro USD. Draw on liquidity. We want to see price get into this level, the gap or the other block. And but liquidity pools where liquidity sits, we want to see price drop into this level to this level. I don't want to see it get into this level, but it's being mapped out because liquidity also sits there, even here. Liquidity sits on this level. Price might apparently get back before giving a reason to continue to go. These are the areas we are looking at on Euro USD for our draw on liquidity and the areas where liquidity sits to give you an entry to the draw on liquidity. But we said watch out and allow the months, what the months, the closing month is going out with. So it will do you no wrong to watch and see what the market will do as the market is running. These are the levels that we've mapped out between Euro USD, British Pound USD, and Nasdaq, which is US Tech. So you have it all, the complete weekly liquidity map from us on liquidity narrative. But remember this, trade the map. Do not trade your opinion. Remember to follow structure and not speculation. There are a lot of speculations out there, but follow the structure of the market, not speculation. Always respect liquidities and your higher time frame structure. We'll review at the end of the week, but until then, remember to map liquidity first and choose structure over speculation. Trade safe and have a lovely week ahead. Thank you.